Hello. I'm uncomfortably close to the camera because I wanted to see how uncomfortably close it could focus. And the answer is not this close. Yeah, no, screw it. Hey, if you like these videos, or if they help your writing, or if you just think we're awesome, or if you really want me to back the fuck up off the camera a little bit, you should give us a like and a subscribe and check out our Patreon, which the link is down there in the show notes. And I'll be back. And I'll be further away when I'm back. I promise. Wow. I need a facial. Hey there. I'm John Hartness, and welcome back to The Writing Life, where I talk about books and the writing world and what it's like to make a living as a professional writer, editor, publisher, podcaster, YouTube nerd, whatever. It's coming up on the end of 2019, and that means it's time. It's time. It's Vader. No, it's not Vader time. God rest you, Leon. It's no longer ever going to be Vader time. It's time for best of the year lists. And that means I'm going to use notes because there were a lot. I read a lot more this year than I have in years past, and I read some really great stuff. So I'm pretty excited about a lot of these books, and there may be turning around and snatching of some of these books or visual aids, so get ready to see the back of my head once or twice. We're going to start off with this year's Hugo Award winner for Best Novel, marking the fourth consecutive year that that award's been won by a woman, and the first time in 4 years that it hasn't been won by N.K. Jemisin. This book is called The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal, and holy shit, what a book. I'll own my bias a little bit. I don't often read the books that win Hugos and Nebulas because I try. I do. I get them all. I get everything nominated for the Nebula as a member of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. And I try to make an informed decision if I vote. If I can't make an informed decision, I don't vote. I don't get to vote on the Hugos because I haven't been to, and here's where I'm going to fuck up because I don't remember if it's Worldcon or World Fantasy. I think it's Worldcon. It's Worldcon. Because I don't typically go to Worldcon, I don't get a vote on the Hugo Awards. So I don't read them until they see who the winner is. And normally, a lot of the things that are nominated and win the big awards, they're paced a little slow for me, and they're incredibly well written, but I like to read for escape, so I like things that tend to go a little faster. The Calculating Stars was an exception. I have listened to Mary Robinette Kowal on Writing Excuses for years, and have some mutual friends, and they've all spoken very highly of her work. So I decided to give it a shout, and John Scalzi wrote very flattering things about the book, and I trust John's taste in books because I'm a fan of his. Holy fuck, that's a good book. It's also not my typical space opera-y urban fantasy boom boom pew pew zoom zoom book. There's not really very many explosions, not a whole lot of shooting of people. There's a lot of really great characterization, some wonderfully in-depth explorations in what it might have been like to be a female scientist in this environment for the book. It's an alternate history book about space exploration in a United States that was a little different from ours. The voice is lovely. There's tons of dealing with issues of race, issues of gender, issues of popularity, issues of mental health and anxiety. But one of my favorite things, and I think it was on an episode of Writing Excuses where the author spoke about this. One of the things I love about this is that there's a completely functional married relationship between the protagonist and her husband. It's surprisingly rare in the books that I read that there's a healthy relationship in the book. And I'm in a 24-year marriage, so it's at least moderately healthy. And I believe that Mary Robinette has said that she's also in a long-term committed relationship. I didn't really pay that much attention to whether she's married or to whom, or if she just has a partner that she's been with forever. I honestly don't care. But I loved the depiction of the married couple in this book because it does develop. It goes places as the book progresses. It talks about the little lies that we tell our spouse to shield them from things and how sometimes that works out and sometimes that really doesn't work out. It talks about the things that we realize later on that we should have told our spouse because they can help us. That relationship was very key to the book, and I really enjoyed seeing a healthy depiction of a marriage in the book. And the last chapter, she does a very writer trick thing. And it's the kind of thing that if it goes wrong, it's going to go horribly, horribly wrong. And it's going to ruin the book. And it doesn't. It works, and it's beautiful, and it's exquisite. And it provides the perfect coda to the book for me. And that's why it made my top 10 list, because... Is it 10? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My top 9 list. Because I loved the book. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was very well deserving of the awards that it's received and all the accolades. And I immediately, upon finishing it, went and got the sequel, which is already out. And no, I do not remember the title of the sequel. Next up is Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. This is the best urban fantasy I've read in years. This is the best urban fantasy I've read in years. I love this book. It explores... The protagonist is beautifully broken, and it explores how people get broken. And it explores family and how family breaks us and how family restores us. And then it's also set in a magical college setting. And I'm a sucker for magical colleges, going all the way back to my days growing up reading X-Men and New Mutants, because I loved those comics growing up. So now I love that in books. So I don't want to say it's a Hogwarts because it's really much more like a college. So it's more like Drew Hayes' Superpowers, only it's not superheroes, it's magic. It's just a fantastic book. It's a mystery, it's a relationship book, it's a family book, it's a book about lies. It's a book about magic. It's a book about learning secrets and what the secrets that we carry do to us. So I thought it was brilliant. I listened to the audiobook and I loved the audio. So yeah, Magic for Liars is just amazing. Here's the first time I get to go reach for my bookcase. And I pick up the papers that I knock off with my leg because I'm not the most graceful fucking flower in the garden, okay? If you've watched the Falstaff Books videos of the Falstaff authors and editors best of 2019, you've seen this cover a lot. It's called A Fall in Autumn. It's by Michael G. Williams. It's published by Falstaff Books, which I am, yes, absolutely biased towards. This book is fucking beautiful, y'all. I told Melissa when I read it that if she had told me it was that goddamn good, I would have read it last year and it wouldn't be on this list. It's a super gay altered carbon. It's far future. It deals with issues of identity. It deals with issues of class. It deals with issues of race. It deals with issues of sex. It deals with death, dying, fear, belief, legend, all in a frame of this awesome noir detective story. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. Melissa, our associate publisher at Falstaff, she calls it the Goosebump book because it gives her goosebumps every time she even talks about it. It doesn't do that to me because I already have goosebumps. It's cold in my office today. But goddamn, I love this book. I have pushed this book hard all year and will continue to do so until Michael gets me the fucking sequel. Oh, next up, this is not a 2019 release. By the way, several of these will not be 2019 releases, and some of you may not have even been alive when some of these books came out. This is not a 2019 release. I picked this book up because the author had a release in 2019 that a lot of people were really talking very highly about. And I remembered that I had downloaded the sample for this book when it was new a few years back, and I enjoyed it. So I went back and I bought the whole thing. It's called Last Call at the Nightshade Lounge by Paul Kruger. It's boozomancy. They make alcohol and get superpowers. What the literal fuck? How great is that? And depending on what you need to do determines the drink that you make. And there's this whole big mythical what happens if you can ever make the magical Long Island iced tea. And the book is funny and fun and light and not and scary and creepy and deep and layered. It's like an onion donkey. It's an excellent book. It's a quick read. It flies by, and there are good drink recipes included as part of the book. It's kind of like a cozy urban fantasy. Yeah, it's kind of like a cozy urban fantasy, only scarier. The Salvage Trilogy. All right, here's another one where I get to go back to the bookcase, only this time I get to go to the shit I wrote shelf. Where it be? Okay. This is Salvage Conquest. This is an anthology put out by Chris Kennedy Publishing. See the little dude? And this is based in Kevin Steverson's Salvage universe, or Salvage title universe. Fuck, I don't know. The Salvage Trilogy is awesome space opera, space adventure. There's a hint of military sci-fi to it, but it's not very heavy. For example, I'm not really a military sci-fi guy, although I read a bunch of it this year. But I love these books. They're exciting. The characters are fun. The characters are funny. They're relatable. Can't speak highly enough about the Salvage title books. There are 3 of them currently, plus the anthology, which I have a story in called Have Space Cat Will Travel, which is my callback to the book that first got me reading science fiction, which was Have Space Suit Will Travel by Robert Heinlein. And there are more coming because Kevin and Chris, like myself, giant whores. And as long as you guys out there keep buying Salvage books, they'll keep producing Salvage books. And Chris and I might be working on a thing where I can do more with my Space Cat character. I don't know how the mic on my phone is, but if you just heard that, that means the laundry's done. So I'm going to have to hurry this shit up. Not because I'm going to get up and do anything with the laundry. Let's not put that lie out there. Next is Orconomics by Zachary Pike. This one is a high fantasy comedy about a band of lovable misfit adventurers who get just fucked in every direction. They're betrayed, they're stupid, they're in love, they're fighting, they're stupid, they're drunkards. I mean, you had me at Band of Lovable Misfits, so it was super fun. It reminded me a lot of Malaise Falchion, which is a title we produced by Paul Barrett. Oh wait, look, I have a copy. I'm coming back. Hold your horses. It's like a dolly shot, only my ass is on the dolly. Malaise Falchion by Paul Barrett is another high fantasy comedy, and except Malaise Falchion is more a mystery, where Orconomics is more straight adventure. I highly recommend it. There is a sequel available. Haven't read the sequel yet. But speaking of mysteries, Planetside by Michael Mamet. This is military science fiction. And this is military science fiction from a motherfucker who knows what it's like to be in the military. After almost 3 decades in the United States Army, Mike has retired from the military and is now writing novels, and holy shit, they're good. I loved Planetside, and I think R.C. Bray was the narrator for the audiobook, and he crushed it. This is a fantastic space mystery. The protagonist is he's kind of a burnout, maybe close to being a washout, and he's sent off. Hey, you, go investigate this thing. We don't really expect you to accomplish a whole lot, but maybe you'll be too, bored or drunk to fuck it up too bad for us. Spoiler, he ain't that bored and drunk. Big explosions, lots of action, lots of intrigue. I've got the sequel on my Audible, and as soon as I get done with Ninth House, I can't wait to get into listening to Space Side, which is the sequel. Magic for Liars is the best urban fantasy I've read in years. R.S. Belcher's Brotherhood of the Wheel series is the best dark fantasy since Sandman Slim. And look, I love Richard Kadrey, I love Sandman Slim, and if you do too, you need to get Brotherhood of the Wheel and King of the Road. King of the Road is the second book in the series, and I've listened to them both on Audible because Bronson Pinchot does the narration. Balki Bartakamus does the narration, and he's incredible. Pinchot does a lot of audiobook narration nowadays, in case you are like me and only knew him from a really awful TV show back in the 80s. But for real, King of the Road and Brotherhood of the Wheel, it's this whole secret society of Templars thing, which again, that checks a lot of boxes for me. There's truckers, there's bikers. Again, checks a lot. Fucking look at me. Don't I look like somebody who should read books about truckers and bikers? Okay, profiling. Guilty. But these books are incredible. They're action-packed. They're dark as fuck, y'all. And this Brotherhood of the Wheel was the first place I heard about the urban legend of the Black-Eyed Kids. And if you don't know about that, well, read the book first and then do some research, because this is some creepy shit, y'all. And it's woven in to Brotherhood of the Wheel really nicely. And then King of the Road has this whole hobo subtext, sub-theme to it that's also awesome. And juggalos, and evil juggalos. So, I mean, look, Belcher is a hell of a writer, and I'm not just blowing sunshine up his ass because I'm publishing his books starting in 2020, but this dark fantasy series lights me up. I can't wait for the third one, so go get that shit. And then we're going to jump in the Wayback Machine. I wanted to include one old book that I read this year in this list so that you can go back and kind of see, so that I could go back and see where my fiction tastes and work came from, and so that you could do the same thing. And for a long time, it was going to be Boy's Life by Robert McCammon, which I reread this year, and it holds up really well. Both of these are old mysteries. I think Boy's Life is set, well, I was going to say further back, but then I remembered exactly when Chiefs is set. Yeah, I'm wrong. So I believe that Boy's Life is in the 60s. But the one I ended up going with is Chiefs by Stuart Woods. Now, this is a straight up old school, generation spanning, multi-POV, multi-protagonist police procedural. This is a mystery, thriller, serial killer book. I don't know. I don't know how people classify those. I just know I love the fucking book. It starts in like 1919 when a small town farmer moves into the town to become its first sheriff. No, not sheriff. Its first chief of police. Duh, the book's called Chiefs, asshole. So Chiefs covers 3 generations of this small town from 1919 all the way up to, I don't know, the 60s probably. Yeah, it is the 60s. It's like 1962 when the book ends. So you've got small town politics, you've got small town race relations, you've got small town policing, you've got a mystery that goes across 50 years. It's excellent. It's very well written, and you really need to go and check out Chiefs by Stuart Woods. And that's my list, y'all. That's the 9 books that I read this year that were my favorites. Many of them did release this year. None of them were written by me because I don't reread my stuff. And all but one of them were published by other people because I didn't really want to make it about the Falstaff Best of 2019 list. So get out there, buy some good books, and when you're done reading all the awesome books, go buy all of mine. Till next time, hey, y'all be good to one another. All right?